Come on.
All right.
So yeah, good. We'll begin shortly, right? Yeah, we'll begin. I guess, yeah. Almost, yeah. You'll be staying the whole session, right?
I will be here. The session is till 11 o'clock. So I'll be here till about 5 minutes before 11.
Okay. All right. So we will sit there.
Yeah.
We'll sit there.
Yok. Selamat tinggal aman. Ini khusus dalam salam.
Hello. Okay. Colleagues, shall we be seated? It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here, both online and in person. It is a pleasure to welcome Dr. Sultan Wali, the Minister for Energy of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, with us. I am also delighted that we have Mr. Ebera Endeshaw here, who is the Senior Advisor to the Minister. I must say that we have a very deep and close, the ISA has a very deep and close relationship with the government of Ethiopia. We are working on many things together as we move towards solarizing the economy. We are working on rooftops. A feasibility report has been done. We are working on solar parks, and we are working to support Ethiopia in the DREAM project, both for solar pumps and for the microgrids. For microgrids, we are looking at 30 microgrids to start with, and we are looking at 2,000 solar pumps to start with. This means that as we move ahead, the rate of non-fossil fuel use in the energy sector in Ethiopia will continue to grow. More importantly, with the solar access, particularly the mini grids, the energy access across the country would also grow. This, we understand, is very important to the government of Ethiopia, and we stand by to support the government of Ethiopia in their endeavors to provide electricity access to all. We also look forward to assist through various capacity building initiatives. We are very close to the launch of a Ethiopia-based STAR Center, Solar Technology and Application Research Center. And that we hope would create both a hub for providing capacity building, for providing information that is needed in the African context, and for being able to develop the kind of expertise that is needed to validate and certify the solar equipment that is used. In other words, we have a strong program and we would like to continue to strengthen it further. I'm absolutely delighted to have Minister Sultan Wali with us, who will deliver the ministerial address and share the country's experience and prospects for scaling solar development to meet its needs. I am also delighted that Dr. Fehibot Wardana, the Ethiopian National Focal Point, will be with us, who will moderate the discussion that is going to follow. We are also joined by the Agricultural Transformation Initiative Ethiopia, the EPEA, the GGGI, the EEEU, and UNDP and CGIAR to better understand the financial institutions and the private sector's perspectives on the opportunities and challenges in scaling solar water pumping in Ethiopia. Without further ado, Dr. Wali Sultan, can I request you to share your thoughts with us?
Thanks a lot, Your Excellency, Dr. Ajay Mathur, Director General, ISA, for your enlightening opening remarks in the context setting. Excellencies, International Solar Alliance officers, expert panels, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely thank International Solar Alliance for providing the platform to spotlight the Republic of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is committed to the fight against climate change. Of approximately 5 gigawatts of the installed capacity, 98% is renewable energy. Of total renewables, around 86% is hydropower. Ethiopia's major climate challenge adaptation commitments are in the sector of agriculture, land use, forestry, with additional adaptation contribution in water, health, energy, transport, and urban settlements. Agriculture, forestry, and other land use adaptation actions represent the bulk of the updated national determined contribution commitments for strengthening Ethiopia's resilience to climate change. My country aims at receiving universal electricity access. My country aims at achieving universal electricity access by 2030 through its national electrification program, envisaging 65% of electricity access through the grid and the remaining 75% from offline technologies. Recently, the Ethiopian electric utility emphasized that the electric tariff should be twice the current tariff. Ethiopia has taken several steps to build up solar capacity through various applications, and there are many utility-scale projects such as 100 megawatt floating solar project in Matahara, two each with 125 megawatt capacity, one in the Chatu, Afar region, and the Gada region in Somalia. 5 megawatt of solar park in Tigray, and some others as well. In Ethiopia, just 5% of arable land is currently under irrigation, and the country's reliance on rainfed agriculture limits productivity and the increased vulnerability of farmers to droughts and effects of climate change. The national government has set a goal of increasing the use of irrigation in the country, but the only pumping equipments available to the smallholders who cultivate most of the country's farmland are conventional fuel pumps, which with an which are expensive to operate and they use large quantities of water. Solar pumping system for agricultural use is one of the significant irrigation-related applications of solar energy. Such project initiation and implementation of agriculture-based solar mini-grid plans will be essential for realizing food security in Ethiopia. The Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia has seen the IS approach to its member countries' well-being has acquired worldwide recognition, resulting in the IS family membership growing to 110 countries today. IS's unique position might play an essential role in capacity building and the development of large-scale sustainable solar projects in Ethiopia. My country is benefiting from ISA's capacity building initiatives and programs as a part of its active engagement. To accelerate the implementation of solar applications at scale, Ethiopia has already established a joint working group with ISA under the ISA programs scaling solar applications for agricultural use and the solar park. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to the ISA Secretary for supporting Ethiopia through its various programs and providing me with this opportunity. I am sure that our discussion today will allow us to take steps in terms of policy, finance, project implementation to develop a conducive environment for large-scale adaptation of solar farms. Having said that, I hope us a fruitful discussion and deliberation. I thank you all.
Can I now request Dr. Teshome, the Director for Irrigation and Drainage, who is part of the Agricultural Transformation Agency, to speak about Ethiopia's agricultural sector and the need and the potential for solar pumps. Dr. Teshome, it's all yours. Is Dr. Teshome there? Is he connected? Well, I think that what they're saying is that he is connected, but they're unable to make the connection.
Yes.
Phone number?
So we'll request Samuel Shepherd.
He's here?
No, he's online.
Okay, no, but he's online?
He's online.
Okay, so while we wait for Dr. Teshome, can we move to
Samuel Shepherd.
Mr. Hello. Can we request Dr. Samuel Chabel to share his thoughts with us? Philip, would you like to come here?
Otherwise, we'll have to call Alok Sikka. Alok Sikka.
He's there?
Yeah.
Okay. If we have, or can we go to Dr. Alok Sikka?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Am I audible?
You're very audible. We can hear you clearly.
All right.
Yes, we can see you as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mathur. And so His Excellencies, experts, and the learned delegates. First of all, let me congratulate ISA for having part of organizing this very important session, and also inviting International Water Management Institute to be a part of this exercise. And as we also know that as a part of the delegation or the mission which was there in Ethiopia led from ISA, IMI was also a part of that. So thank you very much for that. And as the Honorable Minister was talking about, there is no denying fact that the solar energy, and particularly the application of the solar energy in agriculture, and that too mostly in the irrigation for pumping water, is very, very crucial, and it is going to be really far more important in the coming future, as it was mentioned by the Honorable Minister that only 5% of this cultivated land is irrigated, and so almost most of the land are rain-fed. So that is where, to providing enhanced access to irrigation, I think this is the solar energy and the solar irrigation pumps or the solar water pumps become really very, very important. And we also understand that this has really a vast potential in Ethiopia. And I would be happy to share that the International Water Management Institute's center in Ethiopia, we have already developed the solar irrigation suitability map for Ethiopia. And so that tells us about the kind of the potential it has to really upscale or scaling up the solar irrigation in Ethiopia for bringing agri-food transformation. At the same time, we also know that there are always certain challenges to scaling up, and these challenges may include like high initial investments, particularly affordability of the smallholder farmers, maintenance support services, limited access to finance and credit support, etc. So for the purpose of scaling out, as we know that there is a need for a right mix of forward and backward linkages. Because unless we have a right mix of forward and backward linkages, really we cannot go on full throttle for scaling out this kind of a solar irrigation pumping systems. So from that point of view, as I was asked to look into and talk about that, what are those and how we can really overcome those backward and the forward linkages. So my next few minutes, I'll be sticking to those points, that what are those things which the government, the civil society, and the private entrepreneurs and the investors have to really keep in mind. Now, starting with the backward linkages, when we talk of, so naturally it comes looking into the manufacturing and supplies ecosystem. So how best we can try and have a more enabling policy environment for the manufacturers maybe, and the suppliers in the form of some certain tax exemption for solar irrigation pumps, and also other associated agriculture and irrigation equipment, certain subsidy schemes which are more enablers to promote solar water pumping systems, and also some financial models, because as we know that initial investment cost is, capital cost is high, how best we can offset. Of course, there could be a number of ways of business model, like one very common and the famous in the sub-Saharan Africa is pay-go model, because which is pretty famous. And then the government commitment to expand the farmer-led small-scale irrigation, for which we believe that the solar irrigation pumps can contribute a lot to bring that kind of a transformation. And again, on the manufacturing and the supply side, there are needs for some incentives to promote this use of clean energy, because we need to be incentivizing also for the use of the solar, this clean energy. And also we would be, as we go forward, we also would be needing some of the R&D efforts for bringing more and more efficient systems in terms of the solar and the irrigation, and effective customer support and the post-service maintenance, because which is really very, very important. So these are the some set of few examples of the backward linkages in order to try and see that how best we can scale it up. In addition to that, even having got those pumping systems, what are the forward linkages? Because all the time we are into the forward linkages. And in terms of the forward linkages, we have to try and look into that, how best we can have integration of this solar pumping systems with a better irrigation equipment, say for linking with drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, micro irrigation, or irrigation services, so that we can maximize the sum total benefit of this solar irrigation systems. Again, at the same time, we also need to be really looking into the technological and the knowledge support for improved water and crop management practices, because that has to also go as a forward linkage together when the farmer is investing on this SIP, solar irrigation pumps. Now, another very important thing is the markets and the value chain. So how best we try and look into the agricultural value chains to bring in that kind of improvement, so that whatever the farmer is producing, and now farmers should be also tempted to, or rather encouraged to have a high value crops. And so for that, we have to have they have to get the better pricing, better value chain. So those are the kind of a very important, some of these few forward linkages, so that would maximize the benefit to the farmer, and that would be a kind of a source of encouragement for the farmers to really move forward in that particular directions. And of course, the improved access to inputs, training, and extension services, because we can look into the private, public, private partnership, private extension services, government extension services, and the multi-stakeholder platforms to bring in more collaborative and exchange among the multiple stakeholders. And finally, that we really need to be also for improved forward linkages and better scaling out, we need to be looking into how best we can strengthen the local level institutions, water governance, and all these things to how they will help in solar irrigation expansion. And finally, we should also be very, very kind of a careful and this thing about bringing inclusiveness, because we should also see that because they are the smallholders and the gender is there, so we kind of try and look into the gender and the social equity and the inclusion into that. So I think these are the kind of the few points which I thought will be important in terms of the backward and the forward linkages in future for promoting and scaling up the solar irrigation systems in Ethiopia, and for that matter, any other country, whether in sub-Saharan Asia, Africa, or even in Asia. So I think I'll stop over here, and I have, I think, run over my time. So back to you, Dr. Mathu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sika. Thank you especially for covering many important topics, underscoring yes, many aspects, and we will come back to this during the discussion. I propose now to give the floor and to hear Dr. Teshome from the Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Agency to share his thoughts on pumping and irrigation in Ethiopia. So Dr. Teshome, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for giving this chance. Sorry for late joining. Yeah, there was some problem in the connection. So my name is Kaberet Shoma. I'm from the Ethiopian Agriculture Transformation Institute, working as the Director of Natural Source Development and Climate Program. So I will focus on what the outlook of the agriculture in Ethiopia and what's the potential and challenges, and what are some of the achievements which we did for the last 4 or 5 years on the irrigation and groundwater in relation to commercializing the farmers in the agriculture sector in Ethiopia. As everybody knows that Ethiopian Agriculture Transformation Institute is working on the agriculture sector and related areas to transform the agriculture to commercialization and to be more business-oriented and more cost-effective for the farmers. So we are working on 300 waradas on 6 regions. Basically, it will be enlarged in other areas. So I will focus on what's the need and what is the resource of the agriculture in Ethiopia in my time. This is the agroecology, which is very diverse and which can grow a number of crops, which is having the different altitude, different temperature, rainfall, so which is exhibiting more diversified agroecology. That means more crop, more diversity, more flora. So we have the potential for this. And the other very important sector is the agriculture sector, which is having a huge potential in Ethiopia. We have around 111.5 million land. From that, 74.3 is more cultivated, and still we're cultivating around 15.4 million hectare. Irrigation, we have a potential of around 11.1 right now with the survey of the ETA. It was earlier said that 3.7 million. Now it's around 11.1 million. How much we are utilizing? It's around 2 million hectare annually we are utilizing this resource. So this is a map of the moisture level correlated with groundwater and the rainfall in Ethiopia. And this is another very important resource which has to be integrated with agriculture, synergized with agriculture. This is a map of the global solar atlas, which will be part of the Africa is more having more. See, African solar power potential, you can see that it is more than any other continent. 4.5 million hectare, that shows we have a potential. In Ethiopia, we do have around this type of potential, which is very much attractive for the solar energy. And even
sorry for interruption. Your slides are not moving.
It's not moving?
Yeah.
It's moving here, but I'm sorry. So can I share again?
Yeah.
Is it not moving?
Yes, and put it in the PowerPoint mode, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So can I keep like this? Yes. So we have the potential of the photos power, which is the solar energy in Ethiopia. On average, this is around 4.2 kilowatt hour per day per meter square, which is very excellent for solar power utilization. When you see the resource, water resource in Ethiopia, you can see that we have, as I said, 74.3 million hectare of land we have, and we have 11 million hectare of land. 2.4 million is already nearly 2.4 million is on irrigation. Average holding land holding is around 0.4 to 0.5 hectare of land. So this is the potential we didn't utilize, but you see that the groundwater also is having a huge potential, which is the shallow groundwater mapping showed that in Ethiopia, 4.7 million hectare will be irrigated using this groundwater. If we are using both the surface water, rainwater, and the groundwater properly utilizing for irrigation, it can irrigate out to 11.1 million hectare, but still we didn't utilize this resource. This is the rainfall potential, which is nearly 1 trillion metric cube, which can recharge annually the groundwater. Even the surface water, it will be raised by His Excellency, the Minister of Water, but we have around 12 major basins, 9 major basins, which is having high potential for irrigation. But when we come to the Ethiopian agriculture, it's more of subsistence, and 95% of the farmers are more smallholder farmers with a land holding of, as I say, 0.5. But in this, our area is a little bit better. This is 0.8 hectare, and more of the farmers are subsistence farmers with low productions. So what it is established before 10 years is to utilize and to properly utilize all these resources integrated. The groundwater, we have the surface water, we have the solar power, we have the land, we have with a great diversity. So we have to integrate all these resources together and synergize, making proper synchronization to a farmer to produce better and more commercialized. So we are having this mandate for the last 10 years. One is studying some findings, bottlenecks, and implementing projects, special projects, implement, okay. So we have also a vision to improve food quality, food the service also, and we are working on this also and linking the farmer with this. So we have 10 priority. We have 10 priority commodities in 300 woredas. So we are working on 5 cereals, 5 vegetable and fruit commodities across 6 regions and 6 regions in Ethiopia, 300 woredas. So we have this very special projects which is implemented for the last 10 years. So I'm focusing on the 9, what is integrated shallow groundwater mapping, and the next period we will focus on distributed energy, that is the drip irrigation energy, which is starting now. So with this integrated shallow groundwater mapping, we have done a huge mapping of the water in Ethiopia, and we have mapped around 234,000 square kilometer areas, and we come up with 27.27 billion cubic water, which is very much suitable for the farmer, for even drinking and for irrigation purpose. So we have also quantified more than 3 million hectare of land, which can benefit 6 million hectare of, beneficiaries for the farmers. So this is the integrated shallow groundwater mapping, which is suitable for the farmers under 30-meter table. So the farmer can pump this water since if they have solar technology, solar pump, they can drill it with a depth of 30 meters. So we are demonstrating a number of technologies to pump this water. We're organizing the use in the form of enterprises to drill this service, and we are also supplying the solar technology like this, which is integrated more, which is having an access for household consumption also, as a productive also, irrigation, even for the farmer livestock also. So we have this demonstration for the last, I think, 2 to 3 years in each 20 waradas, 170 farmers. This is the seeds multiplication in some areas. And this is another nursery area, and the use is organized to produce onion for the market also. This is the drilling use, which is getting training, practical training for the last, I think, 35 days, and they will be certified, licensed, giving the farmer this type of service. And by doing all these things, so for the last, I think, 10 years, we have improved the production, productivity, and comparing to the national average, the ACC is nearly 33 quintal per hectare. Even for the last, I think, 2019, 2020, there is an increment of 22% of the production for these 300 waradas in these 10 commodities. So with this, we have to integrate these 3 very important input, that is the energy, the water, and agriculture, very much in the form of more synergized and integrated with a proper policy framework. These are some of, because each policy will affect the other. So whenever we are developing the water policy, the energy policy, the food or the agriculture policy, it has to be integrated and aligned with the other. So we have to utilize this one, and scaling up all these type of activities, and hoping that with this some practices, with this some activities from Ethiopia, in the future we will work together with the International Solar Alliance and other stakeholder, the Ministry of Water and Energy also. We are working together basically. So we will leverage and get more support and more technology demonstration for the farmers. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Teshome. Maybe one clarification from our side. You've been talking a lot about, the water resources. Could you tell us what is the average depth of the water table? The water level. Is it a usual 20 to 30 meter deep, or is it quite deep, like 100 meter, or yes, or very low? So could you give us some indication on that?
So thank you for the question. So basically, we do have our definition, the integrated shallow groundwater mapping is 30 meter depths. So we map it on this depth, so a farmer can get for individual standalone technology for individual farmer, which is having a size of 0.5 to 2 hectares. They have to access within this smaller pumps with a depth of 20 meters, 30 meters, a maximum of 30 meters. But we have another project, with a dream project, which is more of a mini grid, which is having a group of farmers and addressing in one side 300, 400 hectares. So in that case, we are using a deep water, which can be some areas 150 and 200 meter depths. Depending on the availability of the water, in some area we can get 56 meters. So we have to approach for individual farmers, for standalone technology, for a small hectare of land, which is 0.5 hectare and 2 hectares, we are advising the farmer, they have to use a small pump, which is a depth of 20 meters, 30 meters. That is a maximum. But whenever we are using a mini grid, which is like we are exercising the dream mini grid, it is depend on the base result. So we are using 200 meter, even 150 meter, depending on the availability of the water.
Okay, thank you for this clarification. Very helpful. I would like now to hand over to Mr. Samuel Shawwell. Samuel Shavel from the Ethiopian Electric Utility, EU. Are you online? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Samuel. I'm from Ethiopian Electric Utility. I would like to highlight on the challenges and opportunities of solar mini grids implementations in Ethiopia for this context. Mini grid implementations.
Sorry for interrupting. Can you put it in slideshow mode so that it's fully, yeah?
Now I think you are seeing my screen.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, mini grid implementation in Ethiopia is done with different stakeholders, mostly private sectors, different development partners, and public sectors. Mainly, Ethiopian Electric Utility is working on the mini grid implementations in Ethiopia. So I mainly focus on EU's mini grid
Sorry, Mr.
implementation.
Samuel, we cannot see your slides, please. Mr. Samuel, sorry for interruption. Can you show us your slides again, please?
Mr. Shawwell?
ሳሚ ስላይድ ሾው ላይ አድርገው። አበራ ነኝ ማናገር። ስላይድ ሾው ላይ አድርገው። ስላይድህን እየተሰማ ከሆነ ሁሉም ኦንላይን ያለው እንትን እየጠበቅን ነው። ስላይድ ሾው ላይ አድርገው።
አይታይም አበራ?
ይታያል ስላይድ ሾው ላይ። ኦራይት ይታያል። ቀጥልሽ። አሁን ይታያል።
Okay, sorry for the interruption. Just I are discussing on the mini grid implementations in Ethiopia. Mini grids are implemented in Ethiopia with different stakeholders, private sectors, development partners, and some public sectors, mainly EUs, are working on the mini grids implementation in Ethiopia. In EU, there are number of pilot mini grids, 12 pilot mini with the range of 75 kilowatt up to 750 kilowatt is implemented. Among these, 10 of them are in operation since 2019, and there are another with the finance of AFDB, which are under construction. Additional 25 mini grids are under constructions, and with the ADEL project, almost more than 200 mini grids are going to be implemented, and some of mini grids are already started for the implementations on the procurement phases. And when these mini grids are implemented, the expected load for the mini grids are mainly residential loads, commercial loads, and LV industrial loads, which is our traders mainly focus on the solar water pumping. So this can be one of the loads for the mini grids which are going to be implemented. Some of the mini grids under pilot have 1 or 2 solar pumping stations. So these mini grids are also helpers for the solar power pumping purposes. Also, they are going to use for these purposes. The main challenges and opportunities where these implementations of these mini grids are opportunities. Mainly, it activates the economic activities of rural areas, communities. When the mini grid comes at that rural area, the economic activity, they are used for different purposes, this energy to get their incomes and to have further information what has been done in another area. So it activates the economic activities of rural area, having one of the main opportunities of having mini grid implementations in these areas. Another, it improves the lifestyles of the communities. Communities' lifestyle will be changed once they see energy implemented as one. When they are getting energy, they will change this energy to get their different incomes and they change their lives based on these energies, incomes which they have obtained by having this energy in that areas. As well as using this energy, they will make their life to make easy using different technologies for their lives and their communities. Another one of lessons we have seen in our implementation of the pilot is that when energy or mini grid is implemented in one area, the community around the area will concentrate in one areas and most people resettles to that areas and this to that lighted village, and that makes the community ready for another further investments. This is one of the opportunities what we have seen during our implementations of pilot mini-grid implementations. Apart from the opportunity, there are a number of challenges what we have faced during implementation of mini-grid is that most communities are not requires awareness creations while we are implementing these mini-grids, because they are not quite sure that this will serve in the sustainable way for those communities. So one of the challenge is that prior to deployments of mini-grids as well as any solar water pumps, we have to make the community to create awareness about what have to be done at that location. Another one of the challenge is that during implementation, during design phase, as well as during implementation of those mini-grids, there will be unpredictable household demands are there. That is, demand risking is happening. Initial time, we are assuming that comparing to one areas or some grid connected areas load profiles, but when we get on actual implementations, some unpredictable household appliance uses and demand increments are noticed, so that such things has to be noticed during a design of the mini-grid at startup phases. Another challenge what we have faced on mini-grid implementation that will happen the same on the solar water pump implementation is for the sustainability. Sustainability as well as the operation and the maintenance will be one of the great challenges for the community. So currently as mini-grid implementations, their tariffs are not yet fully act as approved and implemented yet. They are not paying cost reflective tariffs. So as they are not paying these cost reflective tariffs, we are not able to have sufficient finances for the operation and maintenance of these mini-grids. So this is also one of the challenge what we have faced during or lessons we have get during implementation of mini-grids in the EU. Another point we see as a challenge is that the affordability of paying cost reflective tariffs of mini-grids in the community. What we have seen is that once we have deployed these mini-grids, so community are not affordable to pay the installment payment for the getting electricity accesses. So this is also one of the challenges. So while we are implementing these mini-grids, we have to think that the way to get access or finance accesses to those communities to pay or to address this challenge will be also one of that we need to take in notice. Another is a tariff. Tariff should be, tariff is one of the challenges. We need to have clear tariff implementation, which is in line with the policies as well as which should not be impartially affect the grid connected customers as well as the off-grid customers. So that the tariff that needs considered to all communities in one, that should be considered. So these are main challenges we faced during implementation of mini-grids, those which are expected to be failed when the solar water pump implementations are also going to be implemented. That is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for this overall description of what you are planning and what are your thoughts on this. Let me ask you one quick question. When you are talking about mini grids, are you thinking of providing power few hours a day or 12 hours a day? Or is it planned to be 24/7 or all year round? What is your main objective? Because in terms of cost, it's really, it has a big impact whether you need to plan a storage, a long-term storage, or if you can be more flexible regarding the demand. So what is your policy regarding this issue?
Okay, thank you, sir, for your questions. In mini-grid implementation, we are following a topology of AC coupled, which has an autonomy of 15 hours we are planning in our designs. And during initial time, we plan to serve with 24 hours services. But when we go forward, the demand for the community is increasing, and this is shortening the time to serve for 25. So assuming at initial time, but when we design implementation of this 12 pilot project, we consider 24/7 at initial time. But currently they are not serving as planned in the initial time because demand is increasing from each households. So making positive thinking, considering for 24/7 is our starting for the implementations of mini grids, but where we are demand is increasing, its time of serving may becomes lesser and lesser. So during initial time, we consider on such basis. As you say, having thinking for the 24/7 is too much costly, but as we are planning to use AC coupled topology during daytime, where we are without utilizing our storage systems, PVs are directly serving loads. So during daytime, any loads, as much as the capacity of the PV panel, half of the capacity of the PV panels can be served without storage systems. So our design is based on such topologies.
Thank you for this clarification. And maybe one more question on this design. Do you have a tariff? You talk about affordability. Do you have you introduced a time of use tariff policy? You know, making electricity cheaper during daytime and a bit more expensive because you have to consider the storage cost at night time. Have you been addressing this or not?
No, yet we didn't have also a tariff for the implementations of. Already we have prepared a draft tariff apply, and we have applied for the EEA for approval and review, which is affordable cost with zero profit, but yet not approved. We didn't use time of use, as you say, time of use tariff is not yet implemented here.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chavel. Now I will turn to Zef Kuvungi, who is a regional coordinator from GEAP, Ethiopia, Global Energy Alliance for Planet and People. So, Zef, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. I would like to just share briefly on the DREAM project. And DREAM is an acronym that stands for Distributed Renewable Energy Agriculture Modalities, which means we are looking at ways of using agriculture as a basis of strengthening the case for mini grids to provide additional load, which we would like to call anchor load in this case. And the case of Ethiopia is unique in a number of ways. Number one, we have this agriculture transformation agency or institute these days that has organized farmers into clusters which are trying to commercialize agriculture. We call them the agricultural commercialization clusters. So in such a case, you're saying some farmers are trying to irrigate during the dry season, and they're using diesel at the moment. The DREAM project tries to get these farmers to shift towards renewable energy. And in such a case, we're saying if we build a mini grid, the farmer who has been using diesel to irrigate is happy to switch to electricity because they already are spending quite a bit of money during the dry season to try to irrigate. Now we say, if these farmers were going to shift to irrigate using electricity, they then would become a good source of demand for electricity during that dry season. And so what happens here is we have a mini grid that then is going to enable them to use electricity for irrigation during the dry season. And that means we have a much higher demand for this mini grid than if it was going to be only the households. And this makes the case for saying, even if the tariff for mini grids for the household is a lot lower, this commercial tariff for irrigation makes the mini grid case much better. And this is going to be the largest mini grid, irrigation mini grid on the planet. This is the biggest irrigation-based mini grid in the world so far. So what happens here is during the day, we will have hundreds of, or rather more than 100 kilowatt per site. It varies depending on which one it is. And the Global Energy Alliance has been working on this for 2 years, saying, let's model what it would look like if this village and that village, the first sites are just 9, but you have visibility of more than 100 sites, which are ACCs. That's a uniqueness for Ethiopia. So if we are going to irrigate these same farms, it would mean that during the day, when there is solar availability, which also means we don't need the storage to be as high, we are able to get these farmers irrigating with a lower cost because there's no need for battery storage to store the power for them to irrigate because they're only irrigating during the day. And the mini grid developer, or the operator of the mini grid, is able to supply quite a bit of demand or electricity that would not have been the case if all we are doing is waiting for the evening or supplying the small loads during the day. And what we are modeling here as a Global Energy Alliance is to find a way that makes a mini grid make a lot more sense economically and otherwise for them to supply these commercial loads, so much so that no matter how low the tariff is for the households, in the case of supplying the commercial demand, we have quite a bit of demand available for them. And the idea of the DREAM project is to help us to understand if we are going to look at development in such a holistic way, where we are saying it's either going to be irrigation for the case of the DREAM, it could also be cold storage, it could be milling or such other commercial uses of electricity, then it would mean that the mini grid case is based on this commercial, the commercial irrigation. And one of the most powerful things about the DREAM is the partnerships that have been created out of this coalition. We have the Global Energy Alliance providing the analytics, project development and such other support. We are supporting both the private sector, but also the government of Ethiopia and other partners. We have created a resort-based framework or a resort-based funding, which will offer some level of subsidies. We are yet to determine exactly what level, because the best case would be if there was no subsidies. But in this case, we are saying we are happy to provide some subsidies, but there's also the African Development Bank, who is a member of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, also offering concessional loans to the private developers. After this pilot, we will now establish what is the optimal level of subsidy, the optimal level of debt, and also we are requiring the developers to also put some level of their own equity, which means that at the end of it, we'll understand what is the best model for the capital stack in the establishment of the mini grid. And what is most exciting about this is we already got quite a bit of interest from private developers because we have figured out the demand. I have to say that the most unanswered questions for mini grid developers is usually, how sure am I that consumption of electricity will happen? How can we guarantee that there will be demand for the electricity that we are generating? And in the DREAM project, what we have tried to do is to answer that question, to tell them, don't you worry, even if all the households do not consume your power, you're a commercial load here of somebody who will definitely have to spend or rather consume your electricity because it is their business. This is their livelihood. This is what they rely on for their livelihoods. So what the Global Energy Alliance is trying to do is to model this and then find a commercial pathway of scaling it up, so that beyond here, we don't necessarily have to be needed, especially for the subsidies, which is one of the biggest questions as to how do you sustainably provide subsidies? How can you have concessional funding and make electrification, which is a public good, to become sustainable? We estimate that the need for a subsidy for these developers will end up being a lot less moving forward, because you have a commercial load that will, it's almost like you're calling it CNI. It's a commercial sense of let's build this mini grid, and it doesn't matter whether households consume this power or not, because somebody commercially requires electricity to be able to run their own businesses. And of course, moving forward, we are looking already at getting crowding in more investors. We have the World Bank very keen on the kind of results that we are going to get out of the pilot of 9 sites in 4 regions. We have the European Investment Bank also very keen on the same, and other bilateral partners that we may not be able to discuss in details at the moment. But the idea is to say, once they see the case that we're trying to prove, that we are able to provide anchor loads from agriculture, then they would be happy to say, we want also to be involved in the scale up. And there is more than 600 sites around the country, but we have visibility of about 100 to 200 that we are able to use as a basis of this. And we think this is a model that can be replicable in very many other countries, not just Ethiopia. I would like to stop there. It would be much better if we have questions in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe one quick question, because you are talking about a holistic approach, but what are you planning to grow? Because you irrigate, you will have, I presume, vegetables or cattle drinking. But then what about the food losses? So as in an holistic view, you have never been talking about a cold chain or cooling, which would increase the load as well, help to have a higher value for the product, which can be preserved on a longer time. So have you been thinking about that?
Yes, that's a very good question. First of all, it's worth mentioning that the very successful agriculture commercialization cluster program of the ATI of Ethiopia is a very unique difference between Ethiopia and other countries. These agriculture commercialization clusters have different types of crops. But usually what happens in each site or each, depending on the region, they are already high value crops. So this is not grains like wheat or maize or it's higher value crops, which makes the farmer see why they must or they would spend money to use diesel, which is the case of the moment, to irrigate, because we are talking onions, tomatoes, bananas, and some fruit trees like avocado, which are already higher value than if they were trying to irrigate teff, which is a very common crop around Ethiopia. So first of all, high value crops, which means they would like to, they're happy to spend money because the returns will be higher. That's one. Secondly, in each cluster, they are irrigating a specific crop. This is a part of the way the program works, to say, in this region, we are going to do onions. In this region, we are going to do tomatoes, which also means that the crop is similar. So the market will be looking for tomato there and not here. They will be looking for bananas here and not the other place, which then means you can build a value chain against that. On to your second question as to what happens to protect this crop. Because first of all, realize that we will be increasing the productivity. Just by irrigation, we know if it's a tomato area, we will have a lot more tomatoes than if they were not irrigating. And now that they're irrigating, this means already that the higher productivity causes a new problem, which is a good solution for the mini-grid. Yes, so to avoid the food losses, the DREAM project is already actively considering cold chains. So it will start with having cold rooms in the area of production, and then linking this to market. And we have partners that are working with us to develop that value chain, cold handling. So that means you can have a cold room which already consumes more power there, and then they have a cold chain that takes it to market in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kivungi. Now we have two other speakers online, two last speakers. I will start with Mr. Ibsam Melkabu Amenu from GGGI, Ethiopia. So, Mr. Amenu, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. As others stated, promoting solar water pumping system in rural Ethiopia has significant economic, social, and environmental benefits. GGI has been promoting solar water pumping technology for several years. We have learned many experiences from piloting small and large size solar water pumping system in Ethiopia, and there is huge demand for solar pump technology among farmers and other stakeholders in the country, particularly due to the increased price of fossil fuel and environmental impact of conventional diesel-based pump. Now it is a time to widely promote solar water pumping technology in Ethiopia. Let me highlight some of the existing challenges of solar water pumping system in Ethiopia. First challenges: farmers, governmental organizations, private companies, and governmental organizations have still limited awareness and the capacity to promote and adopt technology. Investing in capacity development, particularly in solar water pumping system design, installation, operation, and maintenance is required. The other challenge is there is limited coordination among stakeholders in the country. Strengthening cooperation among government and governmental organizations, private company, and the financial institutions is important to effectively promote solar water pumping in the country. There is also another challenge, major challenge, which previously stated. Currently, investment cost in solar water pumping is slightly higher than the conventional diesel-based water pumping system. However, the price of PV module is dropping, which is major component of cost of the solar water pumping system. The other, fuel cost increasing vertically, and its availability in rural area of the country is also a big problem. When we compare solar and the diesel-based water pumping system in terms of life cycle cost, solar water pumping system is the cheapest. Therefore, encouraging private companies to actively participate in solar water pumping business and supporting rural community to transition from diesel-based water pumping system to solar water pumping system in Ethiopia requires development of appropriate incentives and business models. One of the challenges, as stated before, of the solar water pumping system is its initial investment cost. Therefore, to make it affordable, accessible, and reliable technology in Ethiopia, some incentive mechanisms are required. The first incentive could be duty-free exemption. Solar water pumping technology if imported by duty-free exemption, it can increase the availability of technology within the country and decrease the investment cost of the technology. So it is very important to take this incentive. The other incentive is in creating financial access for the community to buy this technology. There should be financial access for the farmers to get loan from microfinancial institutions or banks. There should be a mechanism to facilitate for the farmers or for the community. The other incentive mechanism should be supporting solar water pumping importers in assessing foreign currency to import technology in large quantity and quality. Since solar water pumping is a critical and a priority for extremely for our country, enhancing access to clean water in rural area and achieving food security in increasing agricultural productivity through irrigation. This technology is very critical. Therefore, solar water pumping technology have a great potential to strengthen the government effort to achieve food self-sufficiency and access to clean water in Ethiopia. Regarding the business model, there are many business models applicable to context of different countries. In Ethiopia, to widely promote solar water pumping system for drinking and irrigation water supply, there are some business models that can be applied effectively to promote solar water pumping system. I would like to explain two business models. The first one, individual purchase model. In this regard, the community or the farmers directly purchase from the suppliers or from the private company by having loans from the microfinance institutions and with low interest rate. This can be done if development partners or government can give for the microfinance institutions revolving fund credit, a guarantee support. This can be the microfinance institution can facilitate for the farmers or the community to give the loan with low interest, and then they can directly procure this solar water pumping system from the suppliers. Therefore, appropriate policy measures are needed to set low interest rate combined with matching revolving fund credit guarantee from the development partners or government is required to speed up adoption of solar power irrigation among the smallholder farmers. Second business model relevant to Ethiopian context is cooperative-based model. The cooperative-based model mainly is for irrigation. Cooperatives have capacity to get loan from microfinancial institution or from banks, and they directly procure from suppliers or from manufacturers outside of the country and distribute to their members with low interest rate. In this way, we can enhance the solar water pumping technology within our country. Generally, promoting solar water pumping system is a life-saving intervention by creating access to clean water for drinking and achieving food security in the country without affecting the government. In addition to developing financial incentives and a business model, key stakeholders should collaborate to promote technology through strong partnership. Thank you very much. This is my point.
Thank you. Thank you very much for describing all the possibilities to make this system affordable. Now we have, I have the pleasure to introduce our last speaker, who is, excuse me for the pronunciation, Zhuangge Vorku from Ethiopian Petroleum and Energy Authority. So, Mr. Vorku, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, perfectly well.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have. I don't come with a PowerPoint and detailed presentation, and I thought that I'm just simply a participant, not a speaker. But anyway, I can say something about the issue. I'm representing Petroleum and Energy Authority. Solar power pumping, especially for irrigation, has been put forward as part of a sustainable energy solution for developing country. As it has been said before, it is very important just for a country like Ethiopia, who have plenty of renewable resources. Understanding this, Petroleum and Energy Authority, together with the Ethiopian Standard Agency, we are developing a comprehensive standard, quality standard on the performance and requirement for solar water pumping system. This standard actually specifies the requirement for design and performance of solar photovoltaic array with not more than actually 3 kilowatt peak. This scope can be revised if any request is just coming. We are developing a standard actually. As a regulator, it has to be seen that the use of renewable energy source, particularly solar for water pumping, need to be given higher priority and should be separately treated in a separate special regulation. We understood this one. And the authority has a plan to prepare a comprehensive quality standard for solar pumping system for actualization of this. Actually, this will be together with the concerned stakeholder involvement. There is also a plan to prepare and develop energy efficiency and renewable energy fund. This fund actually will be a fund directive, which can also play a great role in promoting the application of this solar water pumping system in the country. So even if private developers are not coming as expected, they are not coming as expected. The authority have also a mini-grid directive for licensing and developers on solar and other renewable energy sources up to 10 megawatt. The directives have detailed technical requirements for licensing, and also any tariff, including the on-grid and off-grid requests, is being evaluated by the authority, and we are doing this. These are the issues that we are doing. Thank you for listening. This is what I have from my side. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I would like to come back to this solar water pumping issue. And I had a question for both Ipsa Amenu and Zef Kuvungi, that is no longer there. Yes. So let's, yes, you have raised your hand, Dr. Teshome. So please ask your question or make your comment, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Just to add very few comments on the IPSA presentation, that the solar pump and related instruments, any instrument related to irrigation are waived free of taxes. It was approved before, I think, 1 year, end of 2020. So there is no tax for any solar related or any agriculture equipment which are applied for irrigation or any agriculture activity. So this already waived from the government. Maybe the other very important comment I have is on the business model. Yes, the individual purchase approach is one of the point. The cooperative approach is one of the models which farmers are utilizing in groups and cooperatives, and to get loans. These are some of the better approach. But in addition to these business models, even the investor, the suppliers, they have their own business model like pay as you go, and even some NGOs, they have another business model like revolving fund for this type of activities for the community. So there are a number of alternatives which we have to add, and relaxing the access for the farmers. And maybe the other thing is there is an effort from the government side that attracting some investors, which is investing on this solar technology assembly in the country. So there are some starters from the government of the Oromia region and in the federal regions. There is some attempts to give some land for the investors. So these are some of the attractive startups for this technology. Yes, this technology is very much important for the farmers. It's a life-saving, not a life-saving. This is the entire life-changing technology that can change the household totally. The farmers get an access for the water, for irrigation, for drinking. The farmer gets the power for their other productive use in the house. So this is the entire changing the livelihood of the farmer. So these are some of the points which I want to supplement IPSA. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment, which is quite in line with the question I wanted to ask to Mr. Amenu and Kuvungi. What is your own? What are your own view on the best way? Yes, what is the best way to enable people to access pumping system? Is it to develop partnerships with local banks, providing low interest rate to enable the affordability to the local farmer through the local commercial banks? Or should we think of third parties, like, for instance, in your microgrid system, you have one big investor and then you pay for water as a service. What would be the best way to go? Or should we have this diversity of possibility? What are your points? So maybe Dr. Aminu first.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Kapade. Just regarding for the comment from Dr. Kapade, I have interviewed some private solar water pumping equipment importers. There is somewhat duty-free imported for irrigation specifically. If there is some with for Ministry of Agriculture or fees with the government, but if the private company want to import freely and put in their stock and sell to any community, they still raise question. It is not duty free. Just have this information from the private suppliers. Regarding the business model, I state only some of it. There are many business models, but maybe there are a lot of business models that can be implemented in the country. Regarding the financial institution, it's good, especially regarding for the water supply system. If the financial microfinance institution is connected with the community and they get a loan from the microfinance institution and they sell their water, since it is replaced by diesel, previously the communities are paying for fuel a lot of money, and now after the solar power irrigation system is installed, there is no community pays for fuel. So instead of that, they will sell their water with a fixed tariff and return for the local microfinancial institution. This way, I think it's good and it's applicable. Previously, when Ministry of Water and Energy has installed from African Development Bank solar water pumping overall the country, and they have replaced the diesel based, and they sell the water, and they have money in their account. A similar way for irrigation, they produce their crop and they will sell and they return with low interest rate. This is my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will give the mic to my neighbor, and then we will go to the question in the audience.
So what we are doing with the DREAM project, which by the way has very strong buy-in from the Ministry of Water and Energy, is to keep what the investors or players in the infrastructure we are developing as service providers. So the mini-grid developer is offering electricity as a service to the farmers or the farmer groups or whoever it is that is offering or rather buying power from the developer. And in between there, between the farmer and the mini-grid developer is what we are calling irrigation service providers. So they're providing water as a service. They're not selling water, which is, you know, so, usually it would not, you know, go down very well with any of the consumers. We are saying the person that is buying or rather doing irrigation is willing to pay a certain fee for the irrigation service provider to avail water to them. And by the way, it's worth mentioning that those were the households as well for the clean drinking water. They are looking at it as water as a service. Somebody who is availing this water for irrigation is offering them a service and they're willing to pay for it. If you're using, let's say you're getting 5 hectares, during the month, you get irrigation as a service whenever you need it. This is how much it will cost you. So yes, the business models around water provision is a service provided based on requirements or demand by the one that is requiring the water for irrigation. So that's the model we are looking at, so that if somebody was to just want to do the clean water alone and take it elsewhere, whether it's standalone, like our friends from Triple GI mentioning, they are able to take this as a model and say, if we set up just water pumping to provide water as a service, this is how much it would cost the person that is requiring it, and this is how much they will make as a return. And that way it becomes a business model that is replicable.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a mic with you? Yes. Okay,
Merci,
so,
merci de la parole. Je suis Gervais du Burundi. Ça va avec la traduction?
yes. Please continuez. Continuez. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me go straight in English. Let me go straight in English. So I'm coming from Burundi. I see Burundi is a member for this international solar alliance. My country is there, but we are happy about the presentation of from Ethiopia, from other countries. And yesterday, my brother was here listening about international solar alliance. And we need contact. We need cooperation with international solar alliance. We need the contact. Our country need to talk direct with the responsible of international solar alliance in order to develop project about that. So in our country, in a normal situation, we have only 2 months no rain, but 10 months we have rain. But we have two areas which there is no rain. And this topic is very important to our country. According to our politics about agriculture, most of the people, we have what we call group member of the population, which are in what you call in French a cooperative. They are working together area by area, and they have support of the government. And we need this mechanism for agriculture because we sometimes we have problem of fuel. This solar areas is very important. Okay. Maybe if I don't want to talk too much, give us the address of the responsible for international solar alliance, and we're going to send it to our minister in charge of energy in order to talk bilateral straight. Not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Regarding Burundi and the advice that ISA would give, you have plenty of ISA colleagues, Ramesh, myself, Shishir. We are plenty of them always here and available for answering any of your questions. But this is about Ethiopia and how to support this policy of developing, and it's perfect. It can perfectly serve as example to other countries, but here we should focus on Ethiopia, and we are running a little bit out of time. Let me maybe finish with one question or one suggestion to all of you before handing over to Mr. Freyvoet, who is going to make the final comment. We have been talking a lot about irrigation, about combining system. So I would like to know if in Ethiopia there's some issue regarding the land availability, and because we have not been talking about at all about agrivoltaics, so mixing on the same surface PV production and crop production at the same time. So is it a topic which would be relevant in some region in Ethiopia, or is it not an issue at all. I would like to have your comment on that. Yes, land availability, because agrovoltaics, having PV module on the top of some crops, it could be useful in some region where you need shade or shading for some vegetable, or partial shading, you know, not fully covered and opaque. So is something which is worth being investigated or not at all? I don't know if one of our speakers, yes, maybe we have an online. Dr. Teshome, you would like to reply on that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we can have in two perspectives for the land availability. That if you are coming with any investor is coming for land to invest on the this solar technology and installing a huge land on this high value crop production, there is a land availability in each regions which is allocated for the investors. So number of areas in some regions, there is available land which can be, an investor can invest, can have a technology that is available. Even the number of incentives are there from the Ethiopian Investment Commission also. So starting from this licensing, giving land and promoting the technology, if they're coming with the money and the technology. The other alternative is if they are interested on small investments, like smaller farmers, they can rent land, they can install the mini-grid technology, and they can give a service what they've indicated, the service giving for energy, service giving for the water. For the farmer can rent their land for the investors, or even they can jointly invest the land with cooperatives and the farmer cooperatives also. So there are a number of alternatives that the investor can invest if they're coming in Ethiopia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Teshome. So there's no more question in the audience, and we have to close up the session. So I will quickly hand over to Dr. Freivot Voldehammer to give his final, his concluding remarks and his final words. So Dr. Freivot, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the International Solar Alliance for dedicating this slot to discuss, solar water pumping experience in Ethiopia. Some years back, there was no discussion, there was no talk about solar technologies, let alone solar water pumping. And now, really, there is a rich experience. There are so many projects, so many pilot models, and also studies to push forward the idea of solar application, and in particular, the government's direction in really spearheading in, strengthening irrigation in different areas, particularly the lowland areas, is really, you can say it is a coincidence, but it's very interesting, very, very quite interesting. Technology is getting cheaper and cheaper, and also government policy is, becoming more conducive. As we have heard earlier by different speakers, there are tax exemptions for solar technologies as well as agriculture-related equipment, and this is really a good impetus for accelerated use of the technology. That's where we are talking about food security, for instance. So really today, a number of speakers have said it all. I don't want to summarize it because there are too many topics, starting from the Honorable Minister, Dr. Sultan, very good opening remarks, keynote address, and also Honorable Dr. Ajay Mathur, the Director General. You see, this shows how the alignment of the government's interest and also the ISA role. You know, we started in ISA as a member since the last 3-5 years, but since then a lot has been done. A number of activities have been carried out to support the government, to support us, and recently, as you might have heard, we have also launched Star Center, the Solar Technology Resource Center, which really facilitates accelerated use of these technologies. So all in all, I can say is we are in a very good position, and I really hope to get very good results in the coming couple of years, I would say. So I would like to thank all the panelists. I don't want to waste your time in naming, but all of them have contributed a lot. I just want to say thank you. With this very short, brief closing remarks, I want to say thank you and back to you.
So thank you, Dr. Frevot. With that, I would like to thank all the audience, all the online attendees, and all my colleagues on stage, all the speakers online. So many thanks to all of you for attending. And maybe we will meet again in one of our next events. You want to say something?
I would also specially thank His Excellency Dr. Sultan Ghali to grace this occasion and steer the entire proceedings today. So it's many thanks to sir and all the speakers and Mr. Frevot and all the speakers and audience. And with that, we will close this session. Thank you very much.